year, had my life back completely, relapsed again. Every time I healed, I needed different people to help me heal. I needed different treatments and supplements. I needed different blood work. The one thing that consistently helped me every time was my mindset to heal. And that's what I want to share with you guys, because I don't see a healthy healing mindset talked about online today. I don't see it in the communities and forums enough, consistently enough. So that's why I share it here. Let's see. I love to see you guys on here waiting. Again, apologies for being late. Let's see. Lisa says there might be a reason for a brain fog. Lots of cake and chemicals. Yes. I'll let you share. Lisa, I'll leave it to you to talk more about what happened with you recently. It's your story to share. Brain fog. It's just always kind of there, up and down, isn't it? So the purpose of these live streams is so that you guys can bring your questions and I can answer them live in real time. And as more questions come up and other people have other points to add, like we get a real dialogue happening around life with severe chronic fatigue. And I really love that we have this back and forth. And I love what's happening in the chat room, especially today with people getting to know each other and communicating and being there and supportive for one another. That's why I do these live streams. So while you guys are getting your questions together, yes, Roxy jumped right to it. I'm going to talk about this 10-day silent meditation retreat that I was on and why I haven't done a live stream in a few weeks. So yeah, while I'm talking about this, get your questions ready and we'll dive into the Q&A portion after I'm done. So I've been going over in my mind a lot how to broach this topic because it was a really huge, really special, life-changing experience for me to get to do this. And it's one of those things that I could talk about it for 24 hours straight and still not be able to convey what the experience was really like. It's one of those things that you just need to go through it to really know what I'm talking about. Kind of like living with really severe chronic fatigue. You can tell your friends and family what it's like, but they don't really get it because they haven't really gone through anything this severe before and this debilitating. So I'm going to do the best I can to convey what it was like and mostly focus on what I got out of it. And if anyone's interested in thinking about doing it or trying to incorporate more of that style of meditation into their everyday lives, maybe we could talk more about that in DMs or even as part of the Q&A. So the style of meditation I did on this retreat is called Vipassana. And Vipassana is special because they say it is the actual preserved technique that the Buddha developed himself 2,500 years ago. So if you're not familiar with the background of who the Buddha is, he was just a person. Actually, I shouldn't say he was just a person. He was actually a prince, came from a very wealthy family, and he was devoting his life to self-improvement and achieving enlightenment and specifically using meditation to do that. So he had gone all around India and tried, dozens of different meditation techniques and philosophies and practices. And he realized that none of the existing meditation practices actually got you to enlightenment, which is freedom from suffering. Okay. They're really defining enlightenment as freedom from suffering. You can be alive and be free of suffering. And his epiphany is that all of his meditation methods were focusing on the mind, okay? They were all about having you picture some object in your brain or think of a point of light, or they were having you repeat mantras, which has you completely out of your body and completely in your head all of the time. The thinking that like the spirit and the mind are what we're trying to enlighten, so let's just focus on those. But the Buddha said, no. That's not right. Like our bodies are part of us. And not only are our bodies part of us, but they're a critical part of our experience. And we should actually be trying to achieve enlightenment through our bodies, not instead of our bodies. By the way, this is all just my own interpretation of what I've read. You might read things and interpret it differently, but this is how I'm thinking of it. And he developed this Vipassana meditation practice that is all about getting more deeply in touch with your body and achieving enlightenment through the body instead of just purely through the mind. You're using both. And what I think is really cool about this practice and why I'm really excited to share it with you guys is because I can already feel myself getting more in tune, even more in tune with my own body and systems and reactions and responses and the little like waves and ripples that are created throughout our day, especially when we're not feeling well. And I've talked about this before. One of the first big turning point for me, the first time I got sick, the first time I was trying to heal from severe chronic fatigue, the real tipping point for me was when I started working on my mindset. Once I started working on my mindset and I realized that my inner life is important and matters, that was when I first started to heal, because I started to approach my healing journey differently once I cared about what was inside of me. And ever since then, it's been this journey to get more in touch with my inner world. And this Vipassana meditation has taken that, oh my God, 10 levels higher. It's really cool. Biologically, what Vipassana meditation is doing is it's actually helping you get in touch with like every single nerve in your body. It's about learning to feel all the sensations that are happening inside of you at all times. So it's really getting you in touch with your central nervous system, because your subconscious mind is tuned into all the nerves in your body at all times. That's how your body knows to breathe. That's how it's sending signals to your heart. That's how it's constantly telling you to digest your food. It's how it's what notices when something touches you or something hurts. You don't have to consciously pay attention to any of that stuff, because the subconscious is always monitoring all these nerves at all times and only surfacing to your conscious mind the information it thinks is important enough. Everything else, it just keeps down low. But there's a lot of value in being able to tap into your body at that deep, deep level. Because one thing that's really cool is what it feels like to me is when I start bringing attention to different parts of my body specifically, it feels like it's not just attention, but it feels like almost like the body is focusing more of its resources on that area. Maybe not everyone's going to have that experience, but I'm try not to get like too woo-woo and too out there and to say things that like aren't backed by anything more than just my personal experience. But it's been a really cool experience that has created the benefits in my life of having just a lot more calm and clarity. What's really interesting is by getting in touch with my whole body and how every part of my body feels has been this just like ocean of calm and clarity. Like I don't have the thoughts running through my head that are just like all over the place and scattered. Like I still have random thoughts. That doesn't stop. But the thoughts that I do have are a lot more focused on what's important to me in my life. And when I have something big or little that I'm looking for a solution to, solutions come to me in my mind so much quicker and so much more clearly and so much more based in reality and truth, as opposed to that swirl. Like there's just so much less nonsense swirl. It's just more grounded. Everything feels more grounded. And I can't explain how that happens by getting in touch with the body, but by listening to the body more, beautiful things are happening. I also have a much stronger ability to focus on one thing at a time. Like even if distractions pop up in my own mind or in the external world, it's much easier to say, okay, I see these things, I'm going to acknowledge these things, but I'm focusing on this thing here. So I think long-term it's going to bring about a lot of positive changes in my relationships, as well as my work life and career, wherever I end up taking that after this hiatus. So those are really cool aspects. And it's been so life-changing that I am still meditating twice a day in the Vipassana style, which is by learning how to feel the nerves in my body. There's a very specific process for that. And you really need the 10-day meditation course to get introduced to Vipassana, because it just takes that much time to slowly tap into your nervous system and open up those information channels to your conscious mind. I wish it took less time, and I wish you didn't need to do like this intensive 10-day retreat to learn how to do this, but I can understand why it's not something you can just dabble in and expect results. There's too much. You need to be super isolated, totally silent, in silence, meditating 11 hours a day. I'll share with you guys the schedule, and unfortunately the schedule for these retreats is why I don't think I could recommend these retreats for any of you with your current state of health. Maybe some of you are well enough to do this, but I know not everybody is going to be able to commit to this for 10 days. They wake you up at 4 a.m. You have to go sit at your first meditation at 4:30 a.m. You do that for 2 hours. Then you get to go have breakfast, and breakfast is always like really simple vegetarian food. Like I had a lot of oatmeal, stewed prunes, granola and rice milk, tea, toast and peanut butter, really simple stuff. And you have a little bit of free time. And then 8 p.m. sharp, you have to be in the big meditation hall, because for an hour you're doing a group focus meditation where you're getting instruction on how to practice Vipassana and how to advance your practice every day. And then from 9 to 11, it's more meditation. At 11, we get lunch. That's our biggest meal of the day. Lots of fresh vegetables, cooked vegetables, some rice, maybe some like tofu or beans. A lot of Asian food. It was really good, actually. The food was pretty good. A little bit of free time. And then from, 1 to 2:30, just more meditation, practicing what you learned that morning. 2:30 to 3:30. Again, big group meditation where you're getting more instruction on how to develop your Vipassana practice. 3:30 to 5, more meditation. And when I say meditation, I mean you're just sitting on your little cushion, just sitting, eyes closed, practicing the meditation of getting in touch with your body. And sitting still for that long, for that many hours a day, focusing on doing one thing only, is a unique type of hard work. You can't do it if you're brain fogged. You can't sit upright that long if your body's too physically fatigued, unfortunately. So I got us to 5 p.m. 5 p.m. is dinner. Dinner was just fruit. They have bananas, apples, and oranges, which is another reason I can't really recommend this to people with severe health issues, because that kind of dinner is just not going to cut it for people who are not well. It's a big stress on the body to have to cope and adapt to like just simple carbs and sugars, to just fruit for one meal a day. It wasn't easy. I didn't even do it completely. I don't know if I call it cheated, but they always had a condiment tray out for every meal. So if the tray was out, the food was fair game. So this is so gross. I would actually eat a cut up banana covered in some olive oil and nutritional yeast and crushed up flax seeds, just to get more nourishment and sustenance and balance into my body. Just getting that fat along with the starch of the banana was way more grounding for me than if I just had fruit. So that's what I did to keep myself going through it. And it actually doesn't taste that bad if you put some cinnamon on it. Anyhow. Okay, so I got us to dinner, and then 6 p.m., what is it? Yeah, 6 to 7, more meditation, another like focused group sitting. 7 to 8:30, we would have a video, basically a movie length video that we watched from the original teacher from Burma. who was talking about some of the philosophy behind it and addressing a lot of common questions and kind of coaching us all through the process for an hour and a half. And then we'd cap the night off from 8:30 to 9 p.m. with more meditation. And then at 9, we'd get to go back to our rooms and lights out by 9:30. Get up and do the whole thing again the next day. So even though this was a 10-day silent meditation retreat, when people think of retreats, they don't think of something so strict and so hard. They think of something a little more luxurious. This was not a luxurious trip. But after having gone through it, I see the wisdom of every single constraint they place on us. No talking, no tight clothes, no jewelry, no exercise. I get it. I understand why they place those restrictions on you, because every single one of those decisions is actually really important to help you develop your Vipassana practice by focusing in on what you're doing there and cutting out every other possible distraction. So it was so amazing that I know I want to do another 10-day retreat next year. And before then, I may actually go back for a 3-day retreat. Now that I've gone through the 10-day, now they can allow me to do shorter retreats since I have the basics of the practice. So got so much out of it. I've seen the chat kind of scrolling by as I've been talking. I haven't looked at it because I wanted to get out all this information about Vipassana. But if it's something you think you'd be well enough to do, I highly recommend checking it out. The 10-day retreats are actually free. The way that Vipassana is modeled, you can actually go to dhamma.org, DHAMMA.org. Let me just put that in the chat to learn all about it. But the way this international organization works is that every course for everyone is free. I mean, Vipassana is free for anyone to try. And if you've gone through a course and if you've seen benefit out of it, they ask you to make Vipassana available to someone else through volunteer work or through donations. Whatever you're able to do, they don't have a recommended amount or time. All they do are tell you about the opportunities available, and they leave it up to you to give what you feel like you can. Which I think is a pretty cool model. And the only way that model works, and the only way they've gone international, and they've built like 200 centers around the world. I mean, they own a bunch of real estate. They put a bunch of money into maintenance and construction of new sites. I mean, like, the only way all that works is because Vipassana actually works. It's made a huge difference in so many people's lives that it's grown to this size, which is mind-blowing, but also beautiful in the way that it works. Okay. All right, I'm going to read the chats now and comments on things. Oh, Lisa, oops, sorry, my mic. Lisa, I did not use mantra during my retreat. One thing they ask of you, another restriction they place, is that while you're there, they ask you to give your full focus and dedication to Vipassana, meaning they ask you not to pray if you're religious. They ask you not to use mantras. They ask you not to use a yoga practice while you're there. They ask you not to use any other tools from other practices that you've learned. Because if you were to practice both at the same time and something specific happens, good or bad, you don't know what to attribute it to. The only way to purely know what Vipassana does for you is to practice only that for 10 days. So it was kind of hard. I would find myself like thinking of mantras to say, and I had to, quit that habit while I was there. I still use them occasionally now that I'm back. I've been back for about 10 days, actually. They ask you, I'm sorry. Yeah, I use them every now and then now, but it's interesting. I don't feel like I need them as much because I'm so in touch with my body. Raph asked, what activities give you energy? It's a great question for the chat. Oh, Roxy, they all take energy from you. Lisa, I love this one. Sitting quietly in nature, listening to the sounds can sometimes help me. It's a beautiful thing. We have a hard time thinking of sitting and listening to nature as an activity, but it is. When you're so ill that walking is difficult, just sitting and listening to something pleasing is an activity, and it's one that gives Lisa energy, Definitely worth checking out as long as it's not too hot or cold outside. Agreed. Yeah, Sky 5 Air, you find everything draining. Nothing seems to give you more energy. Roxy, if you lie in bed with your eyes closed and not think of anything, that's actually a form of meditation. And that's actually true rest. That's something I talk about in some of my other videos where, if you're healthy, it's easy to think of watching TV as resting. But when you're as ill as some of us are, as I was, watching TV, watching a movie, doing something gentle, even reading a book can actually not be rest. It can actually be work. It can actually be something that drains us instead of filling us back up. And that's one reason I've started to incorporate some meditations into this channel. And I talk about meditation because it is an activity that tends to give people more energy as they do it. When I first began meditation, it is what opened me up to my inner world initially. And it was something that did start giving me more energy on a daily basis just to meditate. Because for me, meditation helped me stop stressing about how bad my life was. One thing that we tend to not acknowledge is how draining it is to stress about things, how draining it is to feel guilty, how draining it is to focus on what we're missing out on in life, right? Like those things take up a lot of our energy to think about and focus on. And by meditating, I was able to stop wasting my precious energy on guilt and shame and embarrassment and regrets and all that stuff. I can't do anything about that stuff. So why feel that bad about it? It helped me reclaim that energy I was losing to those thoughts. And I think it's something that can help a lot of people stop wasting their emotional energy. And when we're so sick, I know when we're healthy, we don't even notice how much energy emotions take. But when we're this sick, we really, really do. They really withdraw large chunks from our energy bank on a daily basis when we let them get the best of us. And meditation has helped me overcome those emotions more and reclaim more of that energy. All right, Sky 5 Air, you have an appointment at a CFS clinic in the UK. Sky 5 Air, I wonder where you're going. There's clinics and you hear a lot of mixed reviews about a lot of them. It really depends on what their general approach is and philosophy is around CFS. Do you know what their philosophy is around CFS? And does it align with your healing goals and how you think you're going to get there? Something we can discuss if you want to, or if you don't want to share that, that's cool too. Roxy, there's no way you could sit still for so long, as ill as you are, with no books and no YouTube. It's hard, but it's definitely hard. But it's so worth it. One thing that was pretty cool that I learned how to do at the Vipassana retreat was to know what I want to do. Like I have that goal and I have this thing that I know that's good for me and like I'm fully aligned on achieving that goal. And then you start having these feelings of like, oh man, I don't really want to keep sitting here. I don't want to do this meditation. I don't know, maybe I need to go to the bathroom. Maybe I'll just think about this song. Oh man, it's so hard to sit here. I'm so itchy. I'm so uncomfortable. And I learned how to allow those things to exist, that feeling of like, oh, I don't want to do this feeling of I just want to get up, this feeling of I'm restless, and just choose to do something else. Like instead of taking those feelings as commands, I just take them as a message and I can choose to do what I want with that message. I can choose to get up and walk away from my meditation, or I can choose to continue sitting there even if that message keeps playing back to me. And that's a really powerful one because there's a lot of distractions on the way to any goal, including health goals, and if actually, so Roxy, I'd ask you, watching YouTube and reading books, do they energize you? Do they take your energy away? Are they neutral for you? Like, honestly, when you do these things for an hour, how do you feel afterwards? Because I don't want to say you shouldn't be doing those things until I know how they make you feel. Let's see. Okay, Sky 5 Air. You're wondering if there's anything you should be asking to get the most out of the appointment. Without understanding who you're going to see and what their philosophy is, it's hard for me to tell you what specific questions to ask. I do have some videos on who to work with doctor-wise and how to know if you found a good one. Let's see. Let me look those up for you and I'll share them in the chat, because finding the right people to work with is critical. It really is. Like, I didn't heal on my own. I healed with the help of the right knowledgeable people. Let's see. Okay, there's one video. Maybe not that one. What a helpful doctor. Okay, there's two videos. I think there's one more good one that I want to share. Let me see if I can find it quickly. All right, maybe it's just these two videos. I'll share these two videos. And then there's also this one. That's for Sky 5 Air, or anyone who has doctor's appointments coming up and wants more information on like how to talk to them and how to understand if you found a great doctor who is, actually going to help you. All right. Yeah, Roxy, it sounds like you've been to clinics and they didn't help you. There's a lot of those messages out there that people go to clinics and it doesn't help them. So, I don't live in the UK. I've never gone to a clinic like that. I've always sought out individual specialists who work for themselves, who specialize in helping people either with severe chronic fatigue or just, health issues that are just generally poorly understood by the standard medical establishment. And I've been really fortunate, I fix my hair, to find enough people who have really, really helped me over the years. Roxy, your therapist told you that you needed to go home and calm down since your illness is due to you being, who are those people? What are they doing in a CFS clinic? Who hired that person? Oh my God, I'm so sorry you were told that. It's wildly offensive. It's harmful. It's insulting. You don't deserve to be told that, Roxy. None of us do. Yeah, Sky 5 Air. I'm sorry to hear you don't have much hope. I understand that. Roxy said what you need is meditation, art, relaxation. Yeah, that's not enough. That's not enough to heal you. Like, as much as I talk about the healing mindset as something to help you, it's not enough to make anyone 100% better. What it does is it helps you start feeling better today, and it helps give you more of the motivation and the right mindset to approach your healing journey so that you can heal faster. It's not enough to heal, because this isn't just in our heads. Roxy, this quote right here: "You are the one that can help yourself more than the so-called professionals." It's unfortunately true. Yeah, learning pacing definitely helps preserve more energy. Pacing doesn't For some people, it helps them heal over very slowly over very long periods of time. For most people, it just helps them lose less energy each day. So I'm just sharing that to help set expectations. There's a number of people who have gotten a lot better using pacing, but I think they are the vast minority. So just have that expectation. Let's see, Sky 5 Air, you've been pacing. That's great. Let's see. Oh, Raf. Good point. It's hindering your sleep. Okay. Oh, Raf. Let's see what other people said first. Okay. All right. Okay, Raf. No one addressed your question. How do you get your mind to understand you stand no chance anyhow? I'm going to say I don't know that that's the right approach, telling yourself that you have no chance, because good people like getting to know good people. And even if you're really tired and fatigued, you seem like a really good person. It sounds like you're really focusing on what you don't have here. And what you don't have is the ability to approach someone like you used to. What you don't have is much hope that she's into you. What you don't have is this feeling of a chance with her, okay? And whatever you focus on is all you're going to see. Some people have called it the yellow Jeep effect. Like, you go out and buy a yellow Jeep and all of a sudden you start seeing yellow Jeeps on the road all the time where you never noticed them before. It's not that those yellow Jeeps weren't there before, because they were. You just weren't seeing them because you weren't focusing on it. When you buy one, you start focusing on that. And instead of seeing yellow Jeeps everywhere, if you want to start seeing BMWs everywhere or whatever, you just got to start focusing on BMWs and you start noticing them around you all the time. And I think that's a very practical, relatable example of showing how by focusing on what we want, we tend to get more of it. We start seeing more opportunities for it in our lives around us. And what I would do is I'd recommend really focusing on the connection you're feeling, or the desire for connection that you're feeling, the desire for companionship. Because those are real things. Those are healthy things. I mean, we all have them, right? And how do I say this? Start small. If she's really someone that you think you would want in your life, and she's someone you want to get to know more, and you want her to get to know you more, start small. Think about what you could do. Could you invite her over for tea one day? And you can, your monkey mind can start going off and saying, oh, that's so silly. Oh, that's so dumb. Why would that ever happen? Why would she be into that? Da 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 da. Right? We can get distracted by all those thoughts. Or you can just focus on knowing that you're a good person and thinking about what a good person she seems to be, and put it out there, because inviting her over for tea or asking her to meet you at a cafe for tea, if that's something you're physically able to do, is a really low bar to set and something most people would be open to do. And I know it can be hard to plan things in advance. So it could be a situation where, like, if you are having a good day, ask her to go out with you later that day. You're going to have to play that one by ear a little bit. It does make it a little more challenging, but that's okay. And, when it comes to relationships, what I've found is that people tend to like me more, and people tend to feel closer to me as a person when I'm vulnerable with them. And I'm mentioning this because if she's really someone you're interested in, then she deserves to know about your health issues. So you don't want to like dump a lot of heavy stuff on her the first time you guys hang out and get tea or whatever you end up doing. That's within your energy envelope. But it's definitely worth saying like, hey, yeah, you know, I deal with this, and focusing on the solutions you find and the way you look for solutions to the hardships in your life. All right. You don't want to like talk about how hard your life is and just complain. You want to show her that you're a solutions oriented person, and you want to show her what you're doing about it. Because, you know, what I found is most really good people in this world know that it's not about the bad things that happen to us. It's about how we respond and react to them. And when you can show her, Raf, that you are someone who has major problems, but is also committed to finding solutions to all those problems, that can be something people find really endearing. And honestly, that's something I find really attractive in a man, when they're solutions oriented. So, you know, I think you have a little bit of thinking to do, Raf, around what is something that's a super low bar that you could use to just get to know one another better, you know, get her time, get her attention, and then find ways to open up to her and be vulnerable and honest, and also display your masculine, solutions focused approach to the problems in your life. That's my advice as someone who was in relationships while I was severely ill. None of those relationships started while I was severely ill. One of them started while I was getting ill the first time. So that is different, just to acknowledge that difference. But I was severely ill while with people, and the more vulnerable I was and the more focused on getting better I was, the more supportive and loving they were of me, period. So that tends to bring people together. And I've also had terrible relationships in the past. I've been someone who has been terrible at dating. I've taught myself a lot about dating, learned how to be in a relationship, and now I'm in the best relationship of my life. By far, it's incredible. It's beautiful. It's supporting. It's loving. It's like, it's all the good things. Deeply connecting. I don't have words for how good it is. So that's where my advice for you comes from. And I hope it works. Like, you know, maybe you don't invite her over for tea. Maybe there's something else you decide would be a better thing you could do that's within your energy limitations. I would be interested to hear what you decide to do about it, because I personally don't want any of you to accept that you have no chance in any relationship with anybody, friendship, otherwise, right now, just because of your illness. I think we can all get to know people as people, even when we're super sick. Because I know I did. Not romantic relationships. I didn't have romantic relationships develop when I was very sick, but I did have friendships develop when I was very sick. So it can happen if we approach it the right way. Okay, that's my 20 cents on that topic. All right, Sky 5 Air, you don't know what they're going to help you with, since they don't recommend or do anything with medication. It's all about helping you learn to manage. All right, Sky 5 Air, I've got to ask, why are you even going? Like, really? Do you think they're going to teach you anything you don't know about pacing or heart rate monitoring or managing your illness? It sounds like you're managing it already. Like, what do you hope to get out of it? Or is this just really like, I've got to try it because I'm trying everything, you know? And that, totally get that too. That's not a bad thing. You know, I just think it's really important that we try to protect ourselves from severe disappointment. When we get our hopes up too much, or when we go into situations like this without clear expectations, it's hard to define when things went well and when they didn't. It's easier if you say, okay, when Sky 5 Air is like, all right, I'm going to do this, and what I'm hoping to get out of it is to learn something that gives me another hour of functional time a day after 3 months. Okay? That's something you can know, like, did it give me an extra hour of energy a day after 3 months? Yes or no? Was that successful? Yes or no? Or when you leave, when after you're done with your clinic, like, I don't know if this is an ongoing thing or a one-time thing, whatever that is, asking yourself if, like, you think there's any chance that what you learned is going to lead to that. Or is your expectation simply, I don't know what else to do and I got this appointment, so I'm just going to go and check it out. But also, are you going to commit yourself to doing whatever they recommend, or are you going to allow yourself to kind of make a call afterwards, say, okay, I think I'll try it, or okay, I don't think I will. Like, I'm giving you examples and ideas on, like, to think for yourself, like, what do I really want out of this? How do I know if it's successful or not? Because when we get into that mindset of setting our expectations, it also helps us keep them realistic when we verbalize them. Because, when we say, because sometimes we can be thinking in the back of our minds and not really admitting to ourselves that we're hoping this makes us all better. That's not realistic, especially not within 3 months or anything like that. It keeps us more realistic when we verbalize our expectations. It helps us avoid massive disappointment. And it also helps us decide before we try new things. Okay, is this going to be worth it? What am I hoping to get out of it? What can I really expect to get out of it? And that's necessary because we've all got to try a lot of things before we find out what works for us. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is. I feel like I'm rambling a lot today. I don't know. I haven't done this for like 3 weeks. While I was at the meditation retreat, I thought about these so much. I missed doing them. I thought about you guys. I wondered how you were. I hoped you were still doing well. I hoped you'd want to come back when I came back and watch more videos. You guys mean a lot to me, and getting to do these things means a lot to me. And I'm really grateful that you guys are on today. So it's really, it's really important to me that I'm sharing information that I find to be truthful and helpful, but it's just as important that I'm delivering that information to you guys in a way that's helpful and understandable to you. So, like, I am totally open to feedback from you guys on what would make the information I share easier for you to understand and digest. You can DM me, you can email me, you can just put it in the chat box. I'm listening. I don't take it personally. I take it as a way to make this better for you. Let's see. Oh, it's weird. This seems to skip around every now and then I lose my place. Okay, now I'm back. Yeah, mantras can be super helpful and nice. Like I said, I still use them too. You can repeat them to yourself. You can listen to them. You can just think them. All right, Roxy, they don't energize you. They drain you, but there is no way you can stay awake. I'm guessing awake without them. You can't just lie in bed and look at the wall all day long. No, I agree with that. I agree with you that you can't just do nothing all day. Like, it's hard. I mean, even if you were trying to just meditate all day, even that's incredibly hard to do and draining. I think one thing that's underrated is finding really simple, really easy physical things to do with your hands. Things like knitting. Like, you can just have a ball of yarn and 2 knitting needles, and you can just knit. You can purl. Those are the 2 like stitches in knitting and purling. Or you can even try to get fancy and do alternating knit, purl, but it's something that's so easy to do with your hands. It takes almost no energy. You can even just have your hands just like resting on your chest or resting on your rib cage down here, wherever. And your hands just go. And it's a really simple thing that can keep your mind busy while you're super brain fogged. It's something that's that easy. Or crocheting, or I think what are really great are the adult coloring books. You can get these coloring books, colored pencils, and it's a really simple way to keep your mind active and your hands active in a very low energy way. So maybe those things don't resonate with you, but I think it's worth thinking about and looking for really simple physical activities to do that are like, I think this is going to turn people off, but I'm going to say arts and crafts oriented. because I think there is some power in creating things even while you're severely ill. Like, you know, even when I'm not feeling well, like even if I just choose to read a book over sitting online or watching a TV, like I feel so much better about myself, and I just feel so much better physically and mentally when I do those things. And I think a lot of people feel the same, but there's still always a draw to watching YouTube, watching TV, because they're more exciting, they're more engaging, but that's exactly why they're more draining. You get emotionally invested in the shows you're watching, listening to things, your brain translating noise into words does actually take energy and can actually be very draining. The intensity of the light from your computer screen or your TV can be very draining. So one thing I used to do is I used to turn the brightness on my laptop and my TV all the way down when I would get really brain fogged, and it actually helped. So there's little tips: turn the volume down, turn the brightness on your screens down, and notice, does that make it less draining for you? Because maybe it will. Oh, hi, Fiona. I'm going to guess you're asking me if I play any sports or dance. I love to dance. I don't do it very often because I have tendonitis in this wrist right now, and I love to go salsa dancing and swing dancing. I'm kind of afraid that like all the back and forth and tugging on my wrist is going to re-injure it. So I'm waiting for this to heal before I get back into dance. But yeah, like I said, I love salsa and I love swing dancing the best. I one wheel sometimes, though I think I might be getting rid of my one wheel. It's an electric skateboard because it's so dangerous. Like, oh my God, one wheels specifically are wildly dangerous. And all the time on the forums, people are sharing their horrific injuries, like breaking their like thigh bone, breaking both elbows at once. You know, I mean, horribly scarred shoulders. Like I broke my wrist on my one wheel already once and had surgery to get it fixed. And that's why I have tendonitis from healing from the surgery. So it's a sport I love, but I think I'm going to quit. I just got into horseback riding this year, which is really fun. My boyfriend's been riding for a few years and really wanted it to be something we do together. So he had me try it out, and I really loved it. Horseback riding is amazing. In fact, at our lesson last night, I learned to canter on a horse. A canter is a specific gait that a horse uses to travel fast. So like there's walking, and then there's trotting is next, slightly faster than walking. And it has its own little like posture needed. And then slightly faster than that is a canter. And yeah, last night I learned to canter on a horse, and it was really fun and really surprisingly easy. So I would say those are, yeah, my sports and dance interests. Fiona, did you or do you play any sports or dance, Fiona, is what I would ask back to you. Let's see, Raf, because it's true, your CFS makes you an unpleasant person. Oh, I hate to hear that you feel that way. Raf, I'm sure it doesn't. I'm sure people are just not understanding what it's really like. That's true, Sky 5. On your bad days, you just want to hide and you can be snappy, but people will understand if you let them in, and it is very difficult. Oh, Raf, when you have CFS, it's hard to maintain close and fun relationships. Since you see your neighbor a lot, your desire for a close relationship is hard to get with CFS is tormenting you. I would agree with what Lisa's saying. Yeah, I had the same thought Lisa had, where maybe it's not your neighbor as much as she's what all of your desire for connection is attaching to right now. That sounds possible. Like, I don't know your neighbor. I don't know how you guys have interacted or not interacted. I don't know any details, but I've definitely done the same kind of thing before, where I kind of put all of my hopes and dreams for connection and intimacy on one person. And it drives you crazy when you expect to get everything you need from one person, especially somebody you want to be in a relationship with. That is a recipe for heartbreak and disaster. It really is. Yeah, I mean, Lisa, Lisa's talked about her wedding, so Lisa's been sick for a long time, but she's managed to cultivate a really meaningful relationship during that time anyway. So I think Lisa has some wisdom and really great experience around this to share. If you guys wanted to connect offline, that'd be super cool because she's someone who's done some of what you're hoping to do, Raf. And see, Sky 5, you're trying just because it's a free service and you don't know what to expect. You'll try to see if it does give you anything. You'll try anything. Okay, you're going to give it a time scale. That sounds great. I'm glad you have all that stuff ironed out before I even mentioned it. Of course, we're all rooting for you, Sky 5, and we hope that what you learn there is everything that you need. But if it's not, we're here to support you. You should keep looking for more things. Let's see, Lisa, yes, the relationship you form with someone now might be very different from a relationship you would have when you are healthy. That is 110% true. 110%. I mean, there was a guy, it's like 5 years ago. We started dating. I was totally healthy. I'd recovered my life after my first health crisis. And we started to get to know each other and we're really into each other and got into a relationship. And then a few months into the relationship, I had my first relapse and became very ill. And what happened is that our relationship dramatically changed. If it hadn't, we wouldn't have maintained the relationship. It would have just ended. It was change the relationship or end it. And we wanted to maintain the relationship, so we dramatically changed how we interacted. And that saved the relationship for a while. I mean, there were other issues that were not illness related that persisted and ultimately led to the end of the relationship. But I also recovered while I was with this guy. And when I was able to recover again, our relationship dramatically changed again for the better, right? Even though there were other issues, non-health related, that persisted and eventually led to the end of the relationship. And when a person really gets to know you because you're vulnerable and you're open, and it's not that you have problems in your life, it's the way you approach your problems, people can still love you and want to be with you and want to be around you. And you can still make them very, very happy because of the way you approached your problems. I can definitely back that one up. Sky 5, not you're going to look into private doctors, but that has a cost. It does have a cost. And that's why if you're going to go the private route like I did, it's even more important to vet somebody and ensure that you believe, before you pay for them, you have to believe that they're going to be able to help you. And I will say, this isn't true for everybody, but I will say the only reason I healed is because I went private, because I found the people who either were patients themselves and got better and then became so passionate about helping others heal that they became health professionals themselves. Those people are golden. Not many of them around though. Yeah, that was the first person who helped me heal, was someone who had a weirdly similar history to me, learned how to heal, and is now teaching other people to heal. Another person who's helped me, who I still see just from ongoing maintenance, is a licensed MD. He's had like a full career and very successful, made a ton of money previously, and now in his later years, he is really into like cutting edge research and helping people with very poorly understood chronic illnesses heal. People like me, severe chronic fatigue, a whole laundry list. And there is a cost associated with that. And that cost can feel crushing when you're not making any money because you can't work. But best money I ever spent, because if I hadn't spent that money, I wouldn't have the life I have today. But I made super sure that that was the right person before spending money on them and before committing to their treatment protocols, which are also expensive. So, you've got to weigh the risks, and you've got to evaluate the cost of things, not short term, but you've got to evaluate the cost of things long term. Because like maybe something is going to cost you $5,000 over the next year, But if you really believe that thing can help make you better, because this person has helped hundreds or thousands of other people heal with this methodology, what's it worth it to you to get to go back to work? What's it worth to you to have a life again? So we can't be just throwing money at things willy-nilly. Can't do that. Very few of us have those kinds of financial resources at our disposal. But when it is worth it, we've got to be willing to. Okay. Hi, Darko from Slovenia. I don't know how to pronounce. Is that your last name? I don't even know if this is your real name, because it could be Slavic for all I know. I don't know Slavic. It's probably not even the language you speak. That's how little I know. I'm admitting my ignorance. I'm sorry. I love everybody says hi. You guys are so nice. Lisa's laughing at arts and crafts. I knew that was a bad term to use. You invited your sister to sew a quilt with you. Quilting, totally something you can do energy-wise, even if it makes you feel like you're 80. Like, even if it takes you a year or whatever, like having something you've created in your hands, however slowly, is a really powerful, beautiful feeling. And one reason I really advocate doing something a little artsy craftsy with part of your time, instead of doing like all, screen time and things that are a little more draining. Like, have something physical you work on a little bit each day, because it reminds you that you do have the power to continue making progress in your life when you have something physical you've produced, however slowly. What do you talk about with people if you have no life, Raf? That's a deep question. That's a big question. What do you talk about with family or friends when your life exists of just sitting at home? Big questions. All right, I'm almost at the bottom of the chat, so I'm going to read the bottom of the chat, and then we're going to come back to Raf, and then I think it's going to be time for me to go. I've done a lot of talking today. But the chat has been so active. This is by far the most active chat we've had on a video, and I hope this continues, because you guys are awesome. All right, let's see. Darko, don't listen to negative people. Completely agree with you. Let's see. Sky5 Air, you end up just asking people about themselves more. Raf. Oh, okay, exactly. Seeing her with family or friends that come over makes me feel bad in a way I never felt before. Okay, bye, Darko. Thanks for joining. Let's see. So, yeah, Sky5. I love your recommendation for Raf. People love it when you ask them about themselves and you just sit back and listen a lot and ask a lot of good questions about themselves. It's one tactic I still use to get to know people, because I still have social anxiety and I still don't feel great at meeting new people and making new friends. And I find that people like me more often and faster if I ask them about themselves a bunch first. And, you've got to have a genuine interest, because that is what helps you think of new questions to ask. And by asking people about themselves is also a really fast way to find common interests. You can guide a conversation by asking questions about things. You can still bring it around to a certain topic that you want to talk about just by asking a question. And actually, like Sky5, I'm thinking about what a smart recommendation that is. Such a simple one, but a really, really effective one, especially when you feel like you have nothing to talk about, either because you have a ton of social anxiety or because you feel like there isn't much going on in your life to talk about. And that's where, like Raf, there's still things you're doing. You're watching a lot of comedy shows, all right? So I'm sure you're really familiar with a lot of comedians. That's an interesting thing to talk about, and something maybe you'll have in common. If you're reading a lot of books, you can talk about books that you're reading. You can talk about articles that you've read lately. It doesn't have to be things that you're doing necessarily, but just talking about things that you're looking into and doing that interest you in any way. Since she's your neighbor, maybe you can talk about things going on in your neighborhood. Or if you're in the same building, you can complain about building management, which is a very popular topic amongst neighbors in Philadelphia. That's where, by focusing on the desire for companionship instead of focusing on how we don't have it and focusing on how she has so much more of it than you do, focusing on the connection you want to cultivate, I find to help you see a lot more possibility for things like topics to talk about, where to find common ground between the two of you. Excuse me. And how to turn, a casual acquaintanceship into something that's maybe more of a friendship, and then you can see where it goes from there. Sky 5, gotta love a comedy special on Netflix. Yeah, I'm sure you and Raph could talk about that forever. Raph said he binge watches comedy specials. Yeah, awesome. Let's see. I feel like there is another suggestion for talking to people when you don't have anything to talk about on the tip of my tongue. And this, okay, yeah, there is. And this kind of can be a tricky one. Not everyone's going to feel comfortable talking about this. But I think it can also be interesting to share with people what your goals are and what your dreams are. Because even though you're severely ill right now, and even though you're very stuck right now, there are still things you want to do when you get well again. There's still reasons why you're trying to get better. Because you want to do XYZ, because you want to feel a certain way, because you want to accomplish something. I think it's healthy in small doses to remind ourselves of what our goals are and to think about them from time to time. Not to get focused on how we aren't there today and how we can't get there today, but to focus on the desire, because I think having those motivations is really healthy when we can do it in a way of focusing on the positives as opposed to the negatives. And when you have a dream, and even if you're just like researching it, like if you want to go back to school for something, you can just start looking up colleges now and programs, understanding where you want to go. And like, there's a whole bunch of information to learn about that. If you can stand to read that much, maybe you could talk about your research for going back to school, if that's something you want to do, like whatever it is, it's okay that you're not going out to bars and getting drunk every night. It's okay that you're not part of a softball league. Like, those aren't the important things in life. I think most people are looking for a partner who, maybe I shouldn't say that. Maybe that's just speaking for me and not speaking for everybody. But I think there's a lot more interesting things about you, Raph, than you can see and admit right now. Like, as we all get to know you, like, you definitely have a personality that's super direct, super results oriented. And I think you can really connect with someone and display that and find a common bond with someone because of that. So you just get a little more oriented with the process of connecting instead of just telling yourself you can't. And there goes my... All right. Let's see. All right. Go eat something, Lisa. Good to see you. Congrats. I am not of Slavic descent. Well, actually, I don't know if that counts as Slavic or not. I'm Polish. My last name is Polish. I myself am 25% Polish. I'm 25% Lithuanian. And then my other half from my mother is just like European mutt. Like, she's a little bit of like French and English and Irish, and we don't even know what. She's just a bunch of things. But the Polish and Lithuanian, not so much Lithuanian, I guess more Polish comes out than anything. Oh, Sky 5, you're thinking of a bucket list for things you can do. Love that. I think that's a great idea. It's not something everyone can just get into right now. I know for some people it's too hard to think about the future. That's okay, but I think it's worth working towards the ability to think about your future again. So, yeah, a lot of people in your life think it's so important. Oh, because you can't drink alcohol anymore. You've lost people in your life because you can't drink alcohol anymore. I know, isn't that crazy? And you're like, wait a minute. If you only want to be my friend because we drink alcohol together, like what kind of friendship is that in the first place? Like that doesn't really feel like someone who cares about you as a person when all they're looking for is a drinking buddy. Yeah, I've lost friendships like that as well. When you can't go out and party, you learn that they don't really care about you as a person. They just want someone to be there so they're not alone when they're drinking. Ew, right? It's hard to feel like that friendship is much of a loss. There have definitely been times where I've been like, oh my God, thank goodness I learned now like what I really mean to them. That I can't count on them for anything unless it's to go get a drink. Like, who really wants a lot of that in their lives? I don't. I say good riddance to things like that. Your body cannot tolerate the smallest amount of alcohol. You know what, Roxy? I think you're better off that way. It's not healthy for anybody. It's something we all do. People do it to justify managing stress, but I still drink. I'm not saying I don't. I definitely do because of the social aspect. It's definitely hard to have a social life without drinking. Or like tonight, in a few hours, I'm going to be going to a business networking event. There's going to be alcohol. And if you don't drink, people definitely ask about it. It becomes a weird thing. So it's been 4 years since you last drank. Good for you. Look, you guys are developing all these healthy habits, silver lining, positive spin. You guys, healthy habits, not drinking in 4 years. They go, what? No wine? Yeah, I get that. And then they ask, well, what about beer? It's all alcohol. No, I know. I've definitely gone off alcohol for a while before and had those kinds of questions too. People just don't get it. All right, kiddos. I just called you kiddos. You're not kids. You are all full adults. All right, it's been over an hour. I feel like I need to go. So glad so many of you hopped on today. Love how full the chat has been. I love that you guys are getting to know one another and you're here and supportive for one another. It's beautiful. And it's giving me some ideas about how to create more of this community online for people who really need it, people like you. So yeah, bye guys. Hugs. Hugs. All right, sending you love and health. I'm Kristin. Take care. Oh, next live stream, same time next Thursday, 1 p.m. Eastern. I fixed the links in last week's, or actually in the live stream from 2 days ago. The links were bad, so I fixed them. All right, see you then. Bye, guys.